My husband's mother hated that I had more savings than him. One day, I woke up to find my bank app locked. My husband said, "She moved things around for our future." I called the bank, and they said the power of attorney had been updated 2 weeks ago. I requested the document, and there, in my handwriting, was a signature dated the day I was. My husband's mother hated me from the beginning. Not in a loud, obvious way. She never raised her voice, never called me names. It was always quiet. Small comments, side glances, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. At first, I chalked it up to the usual mother-in-law awkwardness. I figured she'd warm up once she got to know me. She never did. When Marcus and I got married, I had more savings than him. A lot more. I had been working full-time since I was 22, living below my means, skipping vacations, budgeting like a maniac. He'd been a little more relaxed with money. Not careless, just not as disciplined. And honestly, I didn't care. I loved him, but his mother did care. A lot. She'd make comments like, "You're lucky she's good with money," but her tone always made it sound like a warning. She'd ask things like, "Are you sure she's not keeping secrets?" and say it with a laugh that felt like a dare. It got worse after we bought a house together. I put up most of the down payment. We agreed that what's mine is ours. Or, at least, that's what I thought we agreed. Then a few things started happening. I noticed Marcus started getting weird about money. He'd bring up joint goals more often, talk about how married money is family money. At first I agreed, we were a team. But then I started to notice how decisions were being made without me. Big ones. Like when he suddenly refinanced part of the mortgage for a better rate, without telling me first. He said it was just a formality. I believed him. I should have asked more questions. One morning, I woke up like normal. Marcus had already left for work. I made coffee, turned on the news, and went to check my bank account just out of habit. But the app wouldn't open. My login worked, but the account access was blocked. I thought maybe the bank was doing some maintenance. I waited a few hours, tried again. Same thing. So I called. The woman on the phone was polite, but I could tell something was off. She said there was a restriction placed due to a power of attorney update. That froze me. I said, "I didn't update anything. I didn't give anyone that kind of access." She asked if I wanted to request the documentation. I said yes. I was trying not to panic, but I could already feel my heart racing. She said it was signed 2 weeks ago. Notarized. On file. 2 weeks ago, I was in the hospital with a migraine so severe I couldn't stand up. Marcus had taken me in. I remembered lying in that hospital bed, struggling to stay conscious. I could barely write my own name on the admission forms. And now someone had a notarized document with my signature from that same day. The document arrived by email. I printed it out immediately. And there it was. My signature. My name. My handwriting. It was unmistakably mine. Right down to the way I always accidentally slant my S too far to the left. I stared at it for 10 minutes before I could move. Then I called Marcus. I kept it calm. I just said, "Hey, my bank app's locked. Did you do something?" He hesitated just long enough for me to know the answer. Then he said, "She moved some things around for our future." I asked, "Who?" He said, "My mom." My voice got very quiet. "What do you mean she moved things?" He said, "We talked about it. You weren't feeling great, and it was just easier. She helped organize stuff. Nothing shady. She's just better at this stuff." I whispered, "I didn't sign anything. I couldn't have." He got defensive. "You did. I watched you. You were out of it, but you agreed. We didn't do anything wrong. She was helping. Out of it." That was the word he used. I didn't hang up. I just set the phone down and let him talk until he realized I wasn't responding. That same day, I drove to the bank. I asked to speak to a branch manager. I showed them my ID, my signature, everything. They let me look at the document in person. It was mine. But the way it was written, how everything was filled out except the signature line. It was clear someone else had prepared it. That someone was his mother. I started digging. Quietly. I got statements, copies of transfer records. She and Marcus had moved money out of my original savings account, bit by bit. Just small enough amounts not to trigger big red flags. But it added up. I also found a second checking account I never opened. One with my name second on the list. His name first. All of it was legal, because of that one paper I signed. The more I looked, the more I found. Not just financial stuff. Her fingerprints were on everything. Insurance. The mortgage. Even the title to our car had been updated. When I confronted Marcus again, he told me I was being dramatic. He said, "You said you trusted me. This is for life. You're acting like I stole something." I just looked at him and said, "You did." That was 2 months ago. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. I needed to get my ducks in a row. I started moving my remaining funds, what I had left, into an account under a new name. I got a P.O. box in a different town. I talked to a lawyer in secret. And every Sunday, I still sit across from his mother at dinner and let her smile that fake little smile. She thinks she won. She doesn't know I'm watching everything now. A week after I visited the lawyer, I started recording everything. Not in secret, not yet. Just quietly. I kept a notebook in my purse. Every time Marcus said something off, I'd write it down when he wasn't looking. Dates. Times. Anything that felt wrong. Then one day, I came home early from work. I wasn't supposed to be home until 5. But my boss let me leave after lunch. When I walked through the door, I heard voices in the kitchen. I didn't think much of it at first. Then I heard her laugh, his mother. And not her fake laugh. Her real laugh. The one she only used when she felt in control. I didn't walk in right away. I stood by the hallway and listened. Marcus was saying, "She hasn't said a word. I think she actually believes it was her idea." And then his mom said something that hit me in the chest. "You have to keep her calm until the refinance goes through. Once it's done, she can leave for all I care." I backed away. Quiet. Careful. I went out the front door like I'd just arrived. Slammed it louder than usual, like I didn't hear a thing. He greeted me with a smile and a kiss on the cheek. She pretended to be surprised to see me. We ate lunch like nothing happened. That night, I copied all the refinance documents from our shared desktop. They were saved under a folder called Budget 2019, even though it was 2025. Inside were PDFs, scanned copies of loan agreements, with forged initials that almost looked like mine. They were trying to refinance the house again. This time with my credit, my income, and my name, but without my knowledge. The new terms would pull even more money out of the house's equity. Equity I paid into with my savings, and tie it to debt I never agreed to. I knew what they were doing. They were trying to drain everything they could before I left. Or worse, make it impossible for me to leave without owing. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my older brother. We weren't close. Hadn't been since our dad died. But he was a mortgage broker in Cincinnati. I told him I needed help. I didn't give every detail, just enough for him to listen. He told me the paperwork they were trying to push through would be hard to reverse once it was finalized. But if I could prove fraud or show that I'd been manipulated into signing under duress, there was a chance. A small one. I asked him what I should do next. He paused and said, "Don't sign a damn thing. And whatever you do, don't leave the house. Not yet." I didn't understand. He said if I left first, it could look like abandonment in court. If I stayed, I could protect my claim to the house and any proof of what they'd done. So I stayed. And that's when things started getting worse. Marcus started getting more controlling. Small things. He'd hide the mail. Change passwords to our Wi-Fi. Insist on checking my phone just to make sure you're not being misled by someone. I never saw him like that before. Calm on the surface, but cold underneath. Like something had snapped. And his mom? She became even more smug. She'd come over unannounced. Rearrange things in my kitchen. Make comments like, "It's nice to see you handling your role." Finally, she once brought over a box of financial files for my reference. Inside were things with my name forged in her handwriting. Credit card applications, loan inquiries, even a letter addressed to her, but written like it came from me. It made my skin crawl. I took photos of everything. I scanned the forged papers and sent them to my brother. He said, "You've got enough to make noise, but if you want to win, you need more." So I waited. I started leaving my phone recorder on whenever she visited. I stopped using our shared laptop and got a cheap one for myself. I backed up everything twice, on a USB and to a hidden cloud folder. Then, 2 weeks ago, I found something that changed everything. Buried deep in the folder labeled Photos 2020 were images of a handwritten journal. Not mine. It was hers. His mother's. I don't know if she scanned it by mistake or if she thought no one would ever look. But in it, she wrote about her plans. How she told Marcus to act sweet, keep her close, and let her think she's in control. How she needed her name for the papers, then she can go. And the worst part? She wrote, "I never thought he'd find someone so naive. His father would be proud." That's when I stopped feeling afraid. After I found the journal scans, I started sleeping with the door locked. I didn't say anything to Marcus. Not yet. I wanted him to keep thinking I was clueless. That I was still the same woman who let him convince her love meant letting go of control. But inside, something had shifted. I started talking to a second lawyer. A woman this time. I didn't want someone who'd dismiss me or tell me to stay calm like the first guy had. I wanted someone who understood manipulation in plain clothes. Someone who didn't flinch when I used words like coercion and financial abuse. She didn't flinch. She listened. Then she said, "You're not crazy, but you're going to need to be careful. If they feel you slipping, they'll try to tighten the leash." I already knew that part. So I started planning my exit. Quietly. Deliberately. Then, one morning, I noticed Marcus's key fob was still on the counter, even though his car was gone. At first, I thought maybe he forgot it. But then I looked out the window and saw his car parked 2 houses down. I felt this chill crawl up my neck. He was still here. I moved slow. Listened. Didn't hear anything at first. Then I heard the click of the back patio door. I walked to the kitchen like I was just going to grab coffee. Through the corner of the glass, I saw him. He was in the shed. That shed was mine. I used it for my garden tools, some old photo albums, a few locked filing boxes with personal documents. Stuff I never thought anyone would touch. I slipped outside and opened the shed door without warning. He jumped like he'd seen a ghost. He stammered something about just looking for the hose attachment, but I could see the crowbar in his hand and the busted lock on one of my boxes. I didn't yell. I didn't ask anything. I just said, "You should leave. Right now." He said, "It's my house too." I said, "Not for long." He looked at me like he didn't recognize me. Then he said, "You've been talking to someone." I didn't answer. That night, I checked the USB where I'd saved all my files. It was gone. I checked the backup folder in the cloud. Still there. Thank God. That was the moment I realized they were watching me. Not just hoping I'd stay quiet, but expecting it. And when I didn't, they panicked. I called my lawyer the next morning and told her everything. She said, "We need a restraining order. And we need it now." I filed the request the next day. It's still pending. In the meantime, I started staying at a coworker's place. Someone I trust. I told Marcus I needed space to think. He didn't argue. Just said, "Take your time. But don't do anything stupid." That was 4 days ago. Yesterday, a letter showed up at my coworker's door. No return address. Inside was a single page. It was a copy of that power of attorney. But across the front, written in black Sharpie, were 3 words. You signed it. No name. No explanation. Just that. I know it was her. I don't think Marcus even knows she sent it. I don't think he's in control anymore, not really. I think he's scared of her too, in his own way. But he still let her do it. He still gave her the keys. And now I'm trying to figure out what scares her enough to send a threat disguised as a reminder. Because the one thing I do know, she's losing her grip. And people like her, they don't go down without a mess. After the letter showed up, something inside me broke. I had spent months waiting, watching, collecting, protecting myself quietly. I told myself that was strength, that being calm was the smart way out.
But now?
Now I was done waiting. I printed every document, every forged paper, every screenshot of texts, every bank statement with her handwriting where mine should have been. I laid it all out in folders, labeled and ready. Then I did something I should have done a long time ago. I went to the police. Not just with the forged power of attorney. Not just the missing funds. I brought everything. I showed them the recordings, the forged journal entries, the refinance documents with fake initials. I handed them the letter she mailed me, still in the envelope. The officer at the desk called in a detective after 20 minutes. By the end of the meeting, they said, "We'll open an investigation. This isn't nothing." That same night, I served Marcus with legal notice. He didn't even look surprised. He just said, "You didn't have to go this far." I looked him straight in the face and said, "You're right. I should have gone further." He left the house the next day, took 2 suitcases, and didn't say goodbye. I didn't ask where he was going. 3 days later, his mother was served with a subpoena. That's when she called me. It was the first time she'd ever spoken to me without that fake polite tone. She screamed into the phone, called me trash, said I was tearing her family apart. Then she said something that made my blood go cold. "You think they're going to care about your word against mine? I've been doing this longer than you've been alive."
I didn't yell.
I didn't cry. I just said, "They don't need my word." I brought receipts. And I hung up. The investigation took time, but it worked. The financial fraud unit found inconsistencies. The notary who witnessed my signature had been reported before. The money trail showed clear manipulation. Multiple new accounts under my name that I never touched. And the best part? When they looked deeper into her finances, they found she'd done this before. Not just to me, to Marcus's father too. Years ago, he'd signed over a life insurance policy on his deathbed. One he never intended to change. His own sister contested it, but it disappeared in court. Now we know why. That's when Marcus cracked. He called me, voice shaking. He said, "I didn't know she did it to my dad." I swear. I thought she was protecting me. I didn't forgive him. I didn't scream at him either. I just said, "You let her do it to me, and you helped her. That's all that matters now." He said, "I lost everything." I said, "So did I. The difference is, I had to build mine back alone." The case is still open, but charges are on the table.
White fraud. Forgery.
Abuse of power of attorney. Marcus isn't off the hook either. His name is on every transfer. He knew where the money was going. He might not have forged the papers, but he used them. They'll both be fighting to stay out of prison. But me? I opened a new account. Under my own name. New bank. New city. New start. I cashed out the last of my retirement. Not because I was broke, but because I didn't want a single dollar tied to that house, that marriage, that lie. I used it to buy a small condo outside Columbus. It's quiet here. No one knows me. I like it that way. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had paid more attention sooner. If I hadn't been so trusting. If I hadn't ignored the signs just because love felt easier than asking hard questions. That's my mistake. I let them wear me down. Slowly. Quietly. Until I didn't even feel the floor shift under my feet. I told myself I was keeping the peace. But really, I was just scared of what would happen if I stopped pretending everything was fine.